The story I'm going to share with y'all is something that was told to me, so this is twice removed, but I from its original source. But I think the original source is trustworthy, and I trust the teller who told it to me as well. So this, in other words, actually happened. And let me set it up for y'all. Okay. What happened was, this guy was who had just retired, and he's devoutly Catholic, and he went on a trip to Italy and visited Rome, saw the Eternal City, actually met Pope Francis. I don't know what the occasion was, but met him, shook his hand, and whatever you think about Pope Francis, don't let that be the impediment to this. That's not the important thing in this story. The important thing to know is that this man is devoutly Catholic, and he went to Rome after he retired from his job on what he called a kind of pilgrimage. Now, the word pilgrimage is going to be repeated later, and it will be significant in how it is received. Anyway, the important thing is to know is that he visited Rome, and it was this amazing experience for him, and it deepened his faith. And he came home. Well, I mean, he was in an airplane, so I guess he was already floating on air. But he was figuratively just floating on air. His faith was recharged. He'd seen the beautiful sights of Rome. He'd seen the Sistine Chapel and other things in the Holy City. And he came back, flew into, I believe, Chicago Airport, O'Hare. Got off the plane and walked up to the customs guy, and the customs guy asked him, what was the reason for your trip? You spent X amount of time in Italy, and what was the reason? And you went to Rome. What was the reason for your trip? And without thinking, this man replied, it was a pilgrimage. Now, keep in mind that the customs guy knew that he went to Rome, Italy. He didn't go to Mecca on a Hajj. He went to Rome, Italy. The customs guy knew that he was a devout Catholic, not a devout Muslim. Plus, the guy doesn't look like a Muslim. Not that all Muslims look, Middle Eastern. But anyhow, it was well known that it could easily be discerned by anyone that he was a Catholic, and that when he talked about making a pilgrimage, he meant it in the religious sense of a Catholic believer. But what happened next, you ask? What happened next was the customs guy said, "Oh, I'll wait here for a moment," and then he went and talked to someone else, some other guy, and then the other guy told him to come with them, and they led him. He was wondering what's going on here, of course, as any of us would. And he was led to some small room, some interrogation room, and he was told to have a seat, and they closed the door, and so he was in this tiny, cramped, windowless interrogation room, and they just kept him in there for like an hour or hour and a half or something. And he's just sitting there. What's going on? And at length they come in and speak to him, and he shows them a bit about who he is, the kind of career that he has led, and essentially his bona fides as someone in the career of public service that he devoted most of his working life to. He worked there long enough to retire. And now he's like 70. He's retirement age, and they've got him. So you got a 70-year-old white guy, white Catholic from the Midwest, and he made the mistake of saying, instead of saying it was it was just a vacation, instead of saying, I just I was just a tourist. If he had said that, they would have just said, "Come on in." But because he said I was there on a pilgrimage, he got this extra scrutiny. So we've got somebody who is again like a domestic, not a domestic. This is a U.S. citizen who is a devout Catholic. I don't want to put too fine a point on this. I don't want to overemphasize anything, but I do want it to be understood what exactly was going on here. Whoa, she just showed up all of a sudden. Let me turn the camera just so. Oh. Okay, anyway. Okay. Anyhow. It's funny how little things like that can just totally shoot your wheels off and disrupt your flow. Just one of those things. So we know, the information came out not long ago that the alphabet agencies were looking at devout Catholics. They were looking at specifically traditionalist Catholics, specifically Catholics who preferred the Latin Mass, Catholics of the Harrison Butker variety, and thinking, well, this is where a wave of domestic terrorism is going to come from. I have no idea why. I can't think of a single terrorist attack that has arisen from somebody of that profile, unless I've just spaced out and forgotten something. Yet for some reason they have quote unquote intelligence, which suggests to them, or so these documents that were uncovered showed, that they were thinking this is going to be a hotbed of the next terrorist attack, right? So it's no longer cool to look at foreign-born, devout fundamentalist Muslims who do have a track record. Some of whom, not all, but some of whom do have track records that are worth looking into. And instead they've made the switch, and now you are a suspect if you're to be looked at suspiciously. You're to be scrutinized. You're to be led away and kept in a little cell. If you tell the customs guy when you come home from your trip to Rome that you were on a pilgrimage. Now they let him go. There was no. As far as I know, that's where the story ends. But I think the fact that I think it's what this story shows. It's what is indicated by this story that is so important to pay attention to. I.e., if you didn't know it by now, the government is not your friend. So don't act like they are.